welcome back to my channel. Today, in the spirit of fall and Halloween right around the corner, I'm going to do a video inspired by one of my favorite witches, Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service. It is also one of my favorite Hayao Miyazaki films. I love the story of Kiki and I like all the characters, and I am a Kiki cosplayer. And just recently this year for Comic-Con 2015, I decided to revive my Kiki costume, and I decided to do the bag this year, which is a fairly easy project, but I just never really thought to do it, and it's a better way to keep my stuff from conventions because she already has a bag that goes with the costume. So I made it, and today I'm going to show you a DIY on how to do it step by step. It's pretty much a simple shoulder bag pattern. You can turn it into anything, but yeah, here it is.
So let's get started. On further inspection of Kiki's bag, it's actually pretty big. Depending on how much stuff she's put in it for the day, it kind of changed in size over the movie, but I made mine a little bit smaller for carrying purposes. I didn't really want this ginormous bag, so I went with something a little bit smaller. Materials. First, you'll need an outside material. I went with a orange cotton. For the inside, shows a more decorative orange cotton. And some paper, a ruler, some pins, scotch tape, fabric scissors, optional but a fabric rotary cutter, paper scissors, also optional but a paper rotary cutter, button, mine came in a 2-set, and a pen or a pencil. So let's get started. So taking my paper was a little bit smaller than I wanted my bag to be, so I went with 2 11x14 pieces of paper and scrapped them together with some scotch tape. And now fold the page in half. This is Gigi's sad face because this part of the video got cut by accident, but no worries, I saved all the measurements. I'm going to show you exactly how big I made everything for the bag. So here is the bag and folded in half. I already had cut it, again, apologies, but the final measurement for the top width of the bag was 15 inches. And you can tell the bottom has a slight curve, which means the middle measurement is a little bit longer than the outside. The final measurement was 10 inches. The final measurement from the outside measurement of the bag is 8 inches. How you get this curve is you can take a ruler or a pen and a piece of string and rotate the outside edge to the inside edge, which makes the perfect curve. I just eyeballed it with a pair of scissors. The smartest thing to do with all your patterns is make sure you mark them what they are and how many you need of them. I wrote Kiki bag base because this is the base of the bag, and you will need to cut 2 for the outside fabric and 2 for the inside fabric lining. Again, apologies, the video got deleted by accident, but don't worry, I'm going to mark everything just like I had said before. The final measurement for the lip, which is the opening part of the bag, the top piece is 15, which is exactly the same size as the base because they're going to line up. My top to bottom of my lip is going to be 7 inches. How you get this curve, like before, is you take the 7-inch and you cut a curve all the way up to the 15-inch line. You can do this with, again, a string and pencil, whatever you would like. I eyeballed mine. I also labeled this one Kiki lip for the bag and cut 2 of them, and there we go. Next up, we're going to get started with our fabric. A good way to do this first would be to iron it first, but I'm just going to go straight to the pattern. I'm laying it down and pinning it so it doesn't wiggle around while I cut it. You can use your scissors or your rotary cutter. I went with my rotary cutter. Make sure you're cutting on the fold, meaning you have 2 of them. I had just enough fabric for this. My fabric was, I believe, a half of a yard for my pattern, and I just worked with what I had. Since it is right on the fold, I'm going to cut off the top lip. So I have 2 of them because they need to be separate. So this is me just separating the pieces. and 2, yay! So let's get started with our base fabric, which is the orange with the outside. Again, laying down my pattern. I just did mine on the open edge of the material. Make sure you're doing 2 of them and cut them out. You need more of the orange, so I decided to go with a whole yard of the orange for this one because you'll need it for the strap later. For the lip, you can do either 1 orange and 1 inside fabric, but I decided to do both mine with the outside orange fabric. Again, lay it down on the raw edge and cut it out. So in the meantime, I'm going to put all my pieces aside and work on my strap. My strap I'm cutting on the fold, so there's 2 laid up against each other, and it's going to be 2 inches wide, and I'm making a really long strip as long as I can, marking 2 inches from the folded edge out, and make sure you mark it all the way down. Now I'm using my rotary cutter to cut it out. I had to use 2, as long as I could, 2-inch pieces and piece them together later in the video because I wanted my strap to be a little bit longer. But now we're going to sew them together. With the 2 raw edges facing each other on the wrong side of the fabric, we're going to do a straight stitch all the way down. I have a brother machine, so my middle straight stitch for medium strength is an 8. So I'm going to sew on the 3/8 line and sew all the way down. A good trick to keep all your stuff nice, if you don't have a serger, is to do a zigzag stitch on the raw edge all the way down so everything's seamlessly put together. And there it looks. Now we're going to turn our strap inside out since this is the wrong side of the material. So my trick is I use a big safety pin, take a little bit of the side with the zigzag stitch and the straight stitch, and put it into each other kind of like a pillowcase. So it's going to look like a scrunchie as you're working. Just keep going your way down using the pin to be your helper, just feeding your tube inside out. So this is me just working my way. It will take time, be patient. And if you had to piece together your strap like me, it kind of is a pain, but hey, it works. Now we're going to work on our base of our bag. So we're going to pin it together just to keep everything together and doesn't wobble around. I am doing all the pinning first because it's kind of annoying. And I'm pinning in a directional pin, which means it's not like going at the same shape of the bag. I am pointing in a vertical pin because I want to sew over the machine. So this is all of them pinned, and I'm going to sew all of them with a straight stitch using a 3/8 mark on my machine, so it's not terribly close but close enough, and then do a zigzag stitch all the way down. I decided to do the ironing now, which means I sat time and ironed all the pieces individually so they're all pressed and pretty before I assemble the bag. This is me just showing you all the finished edges. When I ironed them the way they should be going. So the icky sewing side is on the inside for the top lip, the base, and then on the inside fabric, it'll be inside out, so it's opposite. And then this is my strap, all pressed and pretty. So first, we're gonna assemble the base with the inside fabric, and I'm just tucking them into each other. So initially, the stitching will be facing each other inside the bag. So just wiggle your way them into each other so the shape lines up and the raw edges will be touching each other like this. We're gonna roll them into each other so everything's tucked in and very pretty. So I'm gonna start with the actual seam lines, which is the both sides of the bag, and I'm going to match them up so all the pinning matches up perfectly and there's no bubbling and whatnot. I'm going to roll it 3/8 to 1/2 inch. I prefer the most fabric I can use, so I'm going to do 3/8 and do it all the way around. If you'd like to take a ruler, you can, but I am going to eyeball it because sometimes fabric doesn't want to do what you want it to do, and I want to make sure it's not stressed when I put it in the machine. Again, I am doing the vertical pinning versus the horizontal pinning, so I can sew over the fabric with my pins in. Next up is the lip. I'm giving you two different options. You can either sandwich it in at this time between the folded edge of the inside and the outside material, which can be tricky. It tends to slip, a little tough to do, but it does take time and it looks very pretty, which means there's only one stitch holding them all together, and it looks better finished wise. But that is one option. Same as doing the inside and the outside material bases together where the seam line is, the best way to do the lip sandwiching is to start with one side and then the other, and then everything in between should line up just great. So once you get the one side pinned and then the other, you would pin it all the way through in the middle, taking your time, and then you would do a straight stitch and then it would be done. Other option for a lip is to pin it all the way around. Then you would take the lip and take the seamed edge and roll them down about 3/8 of an inch down, making both of the rolled sides meet up, and then pin it. Now, since everything is pinned, it's a good opportunity to do our strap. It's the same case as the lip. I would like to sandwich mine in between the base material and the inside material. You could do the same thing as the second option for the lip and roll the edge in and then sew it and then sew it on the outside of the bag. But I would like to sandwich mine, so this is how I'm going to do it. Once you find the right placement for your strap, I chose right where the seam line is for the front and the back of the bag. I'm going to pin it in place. Now for the other side, I'm going to gently take the strap and feed it all the way through so it doesn't get twisted while I make it to the other side, and then pin it in place as well. So everything is pinned, and now I'm going to do a straight stitch and sew all the way around. Be really gentle with this. Fabric can get caught on the underside, so keep adjusting yourself as you're doing your straight stitch. Now I'm going to remove all my pins. Since I did a vertical pin, I was able to sew it through the machine with the pins in. Now I'm going to take my lip, and I didn't sew this together yet. You can sew it and then attach it after and then do another stitching on top, but I wanted mine to look a little cleaner, so I left the lip pinned. So now I'm going to take the time to line it up and see how much of the stitching I want to cover from the previous stitch I had just done to line up. It could be a little bit more dragged down or a little up, but turns out mine's just perfect. So I'm going to repin the lip to the previous stitching I did on the top edge of the bag. I had pinned it in the opposite direction, so I'm just readjusting the directional pin to face the left side versus the right, so the top of the pearl doesn't get stuck on the machine. And I'm just taking the time to make sure the stitching line is perfect on both sides. So now that it's put together, I'm going to do a straight stitch to finish it off. After you have completed your straight edge, most of your sewing is done. The only thing left to do is the button. I bought these really cute buttons. They came in a 2-pack. They actually look like the bread from Kiki's delivery service, which I thought was really, really cute, so I decided to go with this one. It's about the size of a quarter. So this is option number one. You can make a loop and attach it to the base. My loop strip will be 2 inches wide by 6 inches. So you would sew the top edge together on the machine, and you can do a zigzag stitch to keep everything in, but it's not required. And after you have sewn it, you're going to take your safety pin on the raw edge that is past the stitching and take the pin and use it as your guide to feed it through. And to save myself time after I pulled everything through, I rolled the edges together so everything will look clean and pretty. And you're going to take that little strip and roll it into kind of a semicircle and match it up where the lip is about just in the middle. And you're going to pin it in place and sew it down. So after sewing the strip down to the lip, you would match up where the button would meet with the base. And after you figure out where that would be, you would sew it down. Option number two is to do an actual zipper hole. I decided to do that with my machine. Most machines have a zipper hole option. If you don't know how to do it, there's plenty of YouTube tutorials, or there's basic instructions that comes with your machine. So my button again was about an inch, but you want to make the hole a little bit bigger for wiggle room. Now I'm going to figure out the placement of the button. Once you have, you can just use your instructions with your machine. Mine's a 1, 2, 3 option for my machine. Now I'm going to cut open where the hole is. It is okay now because it has stitching to protect the raw cut. So I have used my little tiny scissors to make sure everything fits. I'm testing out the button, make sure everything's good, and it is, yay! So now I'm going to take the lip and line it up against my base and figure out where it perfectly fits onto the base front of my bag. Now I'm going to pin that so I know where to place my button. Now for hand sewing to attach our button. So I'm going to take a medium-sized needle and take a long piece of my thread I had used for my machine and feed it through my needle. How I do my knots for hand sewing is I take one side and feed it all the way through the needle and meet up the tails of the string, make sure they're perfectly matched up, pinch it with my thumb and my pointer finger, and roll it around my pointer finger once. And where the tails meet the rolled thread, you're going to pinch. That creates an X, and you pinch it and roll it, twist it, and then take the top and roll it down. And it makes a perfect knot. There is many other ways to do knots. I'm sure everyone has different ways, but I'm going to feed it from the underside of the bag to the top side of the bag and get my button started. So once it's pulled all the way through at least once, I'm going to take my needle and feed it up to the top again and keep doing the same motion, feed it up to the top, feed it through the button, go down through the fabric. At least like 5 or 6 times. Once you have done that, make sure the needle is feeded through the top as close to the button as possible. And we're going to finish off the needle. So we're going to take the thread and wrap it around where the thread meets the fabric a few times so everything's all finished and pretty. Don't do it too tight, it will bunch up the fabric. Just do it enough so it's snug. Then take the needle and feed it to the bottom and knot it off. How I do mine is I take my needle and take the previous stitching, and just about when everything's pulled through, it creates a loop. Take the needle and feed it through the loop to create another knot and then pull it through. Again, I do this about 3 or 4 times, make sure everything's all secure, and then cut off the little tails and it's done. Ta-da! Our bag is done. and it's so cute. I love it so much. It was perfect for Comic-Con. It wasn't too bulky, and I loved carrying it around. It matched my costume perfectly, and yeah, it was lots and lots of fun to have and make and wear.
I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. You can repurpose this product for anything, any kind of occasion. Change out the materials. You can do a birthday present, a gift for someone else, a different cosplay. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you liked it, please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, and have a magical day. Bye.
In the big blue sky, don't wanna watch it all go by, so I'm gonna fly.